All right, we're on page Shin Yud Zion, according to what I have here. And it's kind of detailed stuff. Let's see how we can handle it. So Lamad no Od, so we learn furthermore. Gulhu Kashem V'Tikik Li'itbar. Call Saros Rosh Zer Anpin, all of the hairs of the head of Zer Anpin, Heim Kashim V'Chazakim V'Lehishaber. They are very, very difficult to break. They're hard and tough. Kahai Cholomish Takif. I looked the word Cholomish and I got the word flint, but at any rate it's a rock, some kind that's very strong. Ki Choskim Hu Kasela, like a rock of the Cholomish Chazak. So this is a Cholomish rock that's really strong. V'hai Tinrach De'ichu Tikifa. Ukasela Chazak Ma'od. So it's like a very powerful or very strong, that's it, rock. Shakasha the Hishav is very difficult to break it. So let's say that they broke. So we didn't have a question of breaking before. Well, but here we're concerned that they're going to break. So he says, so that's the reason why they're so tough. Because there would be light and shefa coming through the halalim of the hairs. It would go out right in the middle of the hairs, but makom hashvir, at the place where it broke. But now, because they're so strong, they're not going to break. That just says sa'ara, right? Until it makes holes opening and then streams pouring out from that hair. So they're like, I have the word mouths. Then the vias or from there are like an opening, but a mouth, like the vias or and everything would pour out. But nagdim mebuin the kifin the call aver ve'aver, and then you would have these real strong streams. These powerful streams, they call aver ve'aver, going down in every direction. They call star v'star on every side. So these openings here now comes out streams of shefa and light that are very strong. They call aver ve'aver, and it would go on to, let me see if I get 1 second here. L'kol aver ve'aver shall call sad v'tzad min rosh zer anpen. Then you would have a tremendous amount of light coming out. And he doesn't say what happens, I don't think. Let me see. V'lamdenu od ki lefi ma sha'amarno la'el sha'hamuchas dimom. Meir v'nimshach b'saras rosh zer anpen, that it goes down the muchas dimom is mashpia directly to zer anpen. The hairs of Zer Anpen of begin to hankis ari ukame v'chashuchim, because they're black and they're darkened. Mishum asaras halalu heim shchorem v'chashuchim. Why? He says machmas hadinim hanechazim behem. So it's like a parasitical kind of. It sounds like a parasitical kind of thing, where these like worms that are attach themselves to the hairs. Ve'inim kabul saras rosh erik anpen. Shehem levanim, and they're not white and beautiful and sweet like those of Erik Anpin, Ksiv Lukach Kosov. So therefore in Iyuv it writes like this: Megala Amokos Mini Choshech. So it's able to read we had this word Amokos, the depths, Mini Choshech, from within the darkness. Pirush Metochas Aros Hashkardim Shazer Anpin and Nikraim Choshech. So let's think about what's inside of them. Mizgala v'nishpaim shefa v'oros nimshachim min omek hamuchas timo v'nikra amukos. So he says the shefa pours out from these pios that he's talking about. V'nishpaim shefa v'oros nimshachim min omek come from the depths. That's why they call them amukos, because they come from the deep panemius of the muchas timo, v'nikraim amukos, and they're called by that name. Then the pasuk goes on and says furthermore, B'yotza the or tzalmavis. Then it goes out to the light. This concept goes out to the light. That's what it says. Into the light. Maybe it means tzalmavis. This concept of tzalmavis. Pirush Sa'aros Rosh Zer Anpin Nikroim Salmavis. Why would they be called by that name? It's like the shade of death. Because the death most is the klipos. And with all of this, all of those call shar call ser b'serim motzi mamshik as or hamochin lechutz. So therefore, they bring each one of the individual hairs brings out mochim to the outsider, from what was inside of them comes out. The bezerem is alam makom salmavas lamakom or. Now, when it takes, apparently, he says the idea that salmavas is the blackness of it, that it's attached to it are all kinds of klipos, but they're actually protected. It sounds like from those from the klipos as a result of the thickness and the toughness of the hairs themselves. When the light comes out, then it's called or. Instead of salmavis, because of the way it's being attacked, it's actually called or. Going on, it says v'tana v'lamadno. So we learn like this: Tani sa'are dedikna dekifim b'lchudoi. They're the beard. Now going over here of the hairs of the beard, they are tremendously strong. Mishar sare resha, and I guess he means tough. Elis aras akashim shall dikna the zer anpin, these tough hairs of the beard of zer anpin. Av shehem maschilin litzmoach miyad acher sim saras arosh, even though they're like right next to the hairs of the head, because those heim omnim levad, but nonetheless they're distinct. They're not like the others. V'nivdalim v'shar saros rosh, and they're different from all the rest of the hairs of the head. V'tam hadavarhu, what's the reason? Mishum da'ani b'luchudaichu misparshim. Mishum shesaros hadiktim misparshim v'yotzin devad, because the hairs of the beard, they come out and they're separated and they go up by themselves. So he misharshim miyuchadim la'atzman, and they have their own roots. In other words, even though they're next to the hairs of the head, which has its own roots, so over here we have the hairs of the beard, they have different roots. V'lo min ashrashim shal sa'aras harosh, v'mishtatchan v'lakach, v'gam nimsarim sa'aras adikna b'bekomos miyuchadim. So therefore we find that there's specific places on the beard where these are designated. Shehem b'tzad eponim, but they're all on the side of the face. V'lo ba'akrech harosh k'mos aras harosh, and they don't go around the back of the head like the hairs of the head. V'inin t'kivin borachayhu k'mo kein sa'aras adikna. So therefore we see that the hairs of the beard hem kashim yosem in sa'aras harosh k'fit tzorach an hagosam. So he says they're difficult more than the hairs on the head, according to the formation of the way that they the need for how they're going to have to go. Kamoshi is bar l'cholon, and we're going to talk about this. So he says, Rebbe Elazar explains like this: Ki yesh l'shol amai tekifim. Why should they be so tough? Lamas aras adikta heim kashim kol kach. Why are they so hard? Item b'bishum dekul dina, because we say, well, they're all full of dinim. Kim Tom Shakatam Kulifni Lifi Shakal Saros Adikta, the Zer Anpen, Haim Bebechinas Den. Lakachs, and so therefore, Haim Bahem Afilu Katsas Saros, they don't have even a little bit of hair. Saros Rocket, Kamoshiyesh Katsas Shir Saros, like you find some of the hairs of the Saros Arosh, which you find on the head. And I didn't see that developed out. He said that some of the hairs in the head are soft. Ella call sa'aros hadikna heim kashim, but actually they're all tough. The fishakulam heim bebechinas dinim, because they're all bechinas dinim. So that's a havamina you might have, that everything has to be tough, because what you're going to get here is all these dinim lavhachi, but that's not the case. The habedikuni ilin ishtakachu rachmei bedinnim, because you find a mixture actually. Shahari betesha tikuni dikna shazer anpin, in those Tikunim of the dikna, the 9 tikunim of the dikna of anpen nim soim bo bechinas rachamim v'chem bechinas din. They're also bechinas rachamim and din both. Ki av shachal tikunim poket avon. So let's take these particular tikkun. Poket avon avos al bonim, etc., like that one. Morim al bechinas dinim kashim. So those one for us, for example, because it has the word poket avon. So you know this is going to be din. Harayesh bechem gam tikunim kamo erikapayim, but you have these ones which are patient. For Rav Chesed, and delivers a tremendous amount of Chesed. Hamorim al bechinas rachamim, which tells you that there's rachamim involved. Beam came, if that's the case. Lama calls aras adikta kshemim kashim. Why should all the hairs of the bid be hard? Od yoser kasha. There's another kasha we could ask. Shahari the famim. He said we see that sometimes. Hatesha tikuni dikta the chochozrim v'nehafchim lebechinas rachamim. But sometimes we see that the black hairs, or I guess he means that the din hairs, could become rachamim. V'shata the nachter kleisim b'buin naharechem the mishcha. Ki b'sha sheyordim shlosha asim b'buim shel naharos shem in the mishcha, which is coming from Erik Anpin. Shehem shefer panimi, which is coming from the inside. Al shlosh esrei tikundi dikna the Erik Anpin, and it's writing on. He says the shefa is coming from Erik Anpin, from the beard of Erik Anpin. Benim shachin the mata the higher betesha tikuni dikna the zer Anpin, and they shine downwards in order to get involved, to shine onto the tikkunim of the dikna of zer Anpin. The hind of a ace ratzon, that is, there's a time when these can be acceptable, and therefore Erik Anpin is shining on zer Anpin. Say, for example, that time. That's a time where we're actually bringing the shefa down. Then everything turns to Rachmanis. Everything turns into aspect of Rachamim. Came lamas aras adikna heim kashim. So tell me why it is then. Therefore, we say that all of them are very tough. Meshiv Rebbe Lazar answers, and he says Alatana, but we learn like this. Kol hanis arid adikna kuhu tekifim. Now here's our phrase again. All the hairs of the beard, zer anpin, are hard. Ki kol elachas aros adikna zer anpin heim kashim. Even the ones that deal with Rachamim, for example, Erik Apayim and Rav Chesed, as we said before. So he asks this question, my time, and they don't have even a little bit of soft hairs. Here's the reason. Call in the rachme boyan the mehebet tekifim the achfia the dinner. Ki call elos aros tekifim because hadiknas, because all the hairs of the beard shehem bebechinas rachamim srichim the hios kashim v'tekifim, they have to be hard and tough. Kadei sheyuchol lekafos, so that they be able to subjugate v'lachachnia and humble as hadinim al yedecha berotokfon through their strength. But the ones that are already din, which really refer to the aspect of dinim, they are kasha by themselves because they're dinim, and so naturally like that. And so the rachamim has to be as tough as them in order to be able to exist in that jungle. Begin kach bein kach abayan the mehevet to keep in between citron. So now we said there's two ways in which, it sounds like two ways, in which they have to be tough. The nimsa shebein kach bein kach, whichever way, hein hasaras bebechinas rachav, hein hasaras bebechinas dinim, where we're talking about either one of those two different types of hair, of hairs, right? Kulam srichim the hios kasha v'tekipin. Everybody's got to be tough and strong. So now it answers like this. What time when is the time to be able to humble the dinim? And then when do you see that the dinim are coming? From those aspects that are dinim. So he says there is a time when the world seeks mercy. When this comes about and is roused in the world, according to the good deeds that we do, then they're hard and they're tough. And through their strength or their toughness, Notzchim es sa'aros shehem bebechinas dinim. They're able to overcome the sa'aros which hold the dinim. V'az memela, and then along the way, nemshachim rabamim b'cholamas atachtonis, the rachamim then flows down into the lower worlds. V'kad boy din g'shutzarak l'pol din ba'olim g'shein b'nei yisrael mitivin as ma'asechem. And let's say that we don't take the hint, we don't take the clue, we don't do tshuva. Din tafek v'natzach al rachmei. What happens is that's tough din overcomes. Az elach ha'sa'aros shehei bebechinas dinim na'asim kasher bebechinas din. The notzchim as ha'sa'aros, and it's able to overcome the hairs shehei bebechinas rachamim, which are aspects of rachamim. V'az na'aseh din ba'olim, and that's when din starts out into the world. Again, kach, and for this reason, ba'olim mechevet tekifim betrin sitrim. So therefore that's why they have to be tough and strong. The two sides which we were mentioning here, everything depends on what we do right here, what our choices are. She'im heim metivim es maasehim, because if people are trying to improve themselves, az rachmim govrim aladinim, and in that particular case, then the rachmim overcomes the dinim. V'im heim metivim es maasehim, but let's say they don't do anything, they don't improve themselves, they get worse. Az adinim govrim ala rachmim. The umavara then goes further and explains like this: the kad boy rachmim s'are de'inun barachmim kaimim. So it comes from down below, ba'olam. So as he said before, that's when the hairs of the head that have to do with rachamim have position, and they're doing their thing. So it sees, he has this word, he says they appear. He says, let me see, so in Nira, only those hairs. In other words, it sounds like it's like Venetian blinds, they're open and they're closed. I don't know exactly, but he says apparently both of the types of hairs are there, but the only ones you see sounds like are the one of Rachamim. They don't show their power. I guess it sounds like they don't light up. And they become sunk in and swallowed into the whole beard, so you can't really distinguish them. They're like background. Then the whole beard was shining from it. Then everything is in the aspect of rachamim. Because all the hairs, which are aspects of dinim, chos from the heel bebechinas rachamim, they come back and they become rachamim as well. Because boy dinah is chazia dikna beinin sari, gmo kain lehefach. So you have the opposite thing. Shatzarak the pole din ba'olam, but the world has sunk. Oz nira hadikna rak be'elach hasarosh bebechinas dinim. The only thing you see there is hairs that have the aspect of din about them. So he used a word again, he says that they don't appear. So Chavakula is kaim bedikna. Limsa. Shabain bechinas rachmim bebein bechinas din. Hakol miskayim al yedei diknas, and all of it then is sustained by the beard, in the beard, through the beard. Farmer now he's going along this way, and he says like this: when there's a revelation of the white beard. Here he's talking about Eric Anpin, Shall Eric Anpin, Lahir bedicted is Zer Anpin, and now it's shining on the beard of Zer Anpin. Kol Hani v'Kol Hani Miznarim. Then on both sides, all of them, that's the white and the black, start to shine. So he says, Oz Kol Elos Aros Addictus, and then all these hairs of the beard, Shehebe Bechinas Rachmim, V'Kol Elos Aros Shehebe Bechinas Dinim. Both of the two different kinds of hairs Kulam meirim mekoich ha'aras arachmim shal dikna de'erik anpin. So therefore they're all shining rachamim now because of the koich of the beard of Erik Anpin. Mistachyan kaman distache benahara bimika mimad havabe. V'saras adikna. So what happens is that the hairs on the head shall zer anpin misrachsim, as if they bathe, matkim, it becomes sweetened, min adinim shebehem, from the dinim that are inside of them, kamo adam haroches benahar amok, like a man, he says, those are my words inside of them, shabahan, okay, with inside of them, kamo adam haroches benahar amok, like a person who bathes in a deep river, sheyesh b'av riboy mayim shedarkol lirchotz heitiv muzachamas shabo, so shabo. So he says, like a deep river where a person can make a really nice bath in that river, from the poison that has sunk into him. He's not, in other words, they're not worried that you're going to lose the water. There's so much. So let's see how that metaphor works with the hairs of the beard. Shelzer anpen, mismatkim v'nirchatzim mechadinim shebechem. They are sweetened and washed and bathed from the dinim that they carry. I think I lost them there. Okay, I'm back. So he says, I'm over here by number Kuf Kof Tes. And it says, V'oz chosrim sa'aros ha'shcharos shal dikna de'zer anpin. So then we see that they return the black hairs of the beard of Zer Anpin. V'hiyos sa'aros levonim kumo sa'aros Erik Anpin. They become white hairs like those of Erik Anpin. V'haskib is kaimu kuhu barachman. Now all of the hairs are really holding by Rachmanis. V'azmis kaimim kol sa'aros adikna shel Zer Anpin. Lehios rachamim gemurim, to be complete rachamim. V'leis din ishtakach. V'dinim nimtakim ba'ofen shelo yimatze v'lo yira b'chem od dinim. And it becomes sweetened, the dinim becomes sweetened to such extent that they can't be recognized anymore. V'kol chani tishach b'kad naharin kahada. So all of these nine tikudim of the beard of Zer Anpin, Tishakad, they start shining together. V'kol elo ha'tesha tikuni diknu shel Zer Anpin, kulam meirim oz ke'echad. Kulam is tachyun barachme. All of them are bathed in mercy. V'kulam nirchatzim v'nim takim b'ha'aras rachamim. All of them is sweetened up and bathed in the light and the radiance of rachamim hagamorim shal dikna de'erik anpin. So that's what can happen. So let's go over here, the next side, and let's go to begin kach lefi mashal marno shalapamim meir dikna de Erik Anpin b'teisha tikuni dikna de Zer Anpin. There are times when the 13 are shining onto the 9 in Zer Anpin. V'hoizim kula de bechidas rachamim, and then all of the hairs of, I assume he means Zer Anpin, turn to rachamim. Lapamim einim meir bechem dikna de Erik Anpin. What about the times when it doesn't shine onto them? V'oz nimsecha bedikna de Zer Anpin gam sa'aros shehem bebechinas din. So he says also you find a mixture. That's when you find a mixture. You find hairs that are also illuminated or shining or whatever that have din to them. Because the tikkun that says poket avos albonim al shleishim v'reveim, that particular one is talking about vengeance, I guess. Morim al bechinas dinim kashim, it's really talking about a time of really strict din. Ama Moshe chazimna achra, so Moshe says a second time. V'zeh yiboyer hatam lama bechet meraglim. Now when we come over Parsa Shalach, he said meraglim because Amar Moshe b'Parsha Shalach. He says as a tikuni dikna shel Zer Anpin pam sheni. So she has a second time when he says the tikunim of that beard a second time, and it says Hashem Erik Apayim v'Rav Chesed etc. No say avon lepesha v'noke lo yanake palpoket avon avos al banim al shleishim v'al reveim. So I didn't really know how the 9 breaks out, but there's 9 there. Ve'ilo emes lo ka'amar. But in this mix, the word emes does not appear. Lo amar b'nechem gam tikun emes. Lo k'moshe amar b'tikun ve'emes. Kish amar tikun diknu shel zer anpin b'pam harishona. The first time he has the word ve'emes, and the second time he doesn't. B'chet Egel, that was over there by the Chet Egel. In other words, these are the ones that Moshe Rabbeinu said the first time by that Chet, B'parshas Kisisa. He said, She'amar az Elu HaTikunim Keil Racham V'chanim Erikapayim V'rav Chesed, and then it puts in the word Ve'emes. Notzer Chesed Alafim, Nozer Ava B'pesha V'chatara V'nakeh. Those are the 13 Midas and Rachamim that come from Erik Anpin. B'shum Durazach of the Milah, so with the sod is like this. Ki sod hadavarhu inam tishim mechilin de naharin ma'atek yamin v'zer anpin. So let's take the 9 lower, I guess he means lower tikkunim of Erik Anpin, which shine onto Zer Anpin. Shebeparshas Tisa b'cheta egel Hoya hatisha tikuni dikna Zer Anpin meirim mekoch ha'aras Erik Anpin. So during that period, which is a very difficult time, that the beard of Zer Anpin was shining as a result of the penemius of the which is the Erik Anpin, mekoch ha'aras Erik Anpin hanikra atek yamim, who is all called the Ancient One, I guess the Ancient Days. Shahayir Zer Anpin, who is now shining, I guess, from the inside into Zer Anpin. Kilo choya kitrog godol kolkach, because at that time the accuser was not so powerful. V'hoya b'koich Moshe Rabbeinu l'horid ha'arash shlosh esrei tikuni dikna de Erik Anpin l'mata b'dikna de Zer Anpin, and as a result of that, Moshe Rabbeinu, I guess because it was fresh, the Jewish people coming out of the sea and so on and so forth, standing at the Har Sinai and going through all of that the Yetzer Hara was not, the accuser was not really all that prepared. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, he was able to bring down the Asara Tikuni Dikna, the Erik Anpin, the Mata B'Dikna, the Zer Anpin, and caused it to shine there on Zer Anpin. V'lakach Amar Moshe Rabbeinu, so therefore Moshe Rabbeinu said, B'Parshas Kisisa, Shlosh Esrei Tikuni Dikna, so then he could say the whole 13 of Erik Anpin. Asher B'nechem Yesh Gam Tikun V'Emes, and in there we find the word and truth, we find the middle line. Shehu HaTikun HaShvihi, which is the 7th Tikun, the Dikna de Erik Anpin, Shemakomoku B'Shnei Tepuchim, where is its place? Its place is on the 2 cheeks, shall upon him de Erik Anpin. So this now is shining on Zer Anpin. So that's that situation, the situation by the Egel. But when Moshe started speaking a second time, and now he's talking about those tikkunim, Pam Shenis, Beparshas Shalach. Over here he's talking about the Meraglim, Bechet the Meraglim, Choya Oz his Gavros Adinim. Then there was the Dinim was certainly aroused. They knew how to come out and accuse. V'nis order the Rabbadinim shall Tisha Tikuni Digna Zer Anpin, and this causes an arousal of all of those Dinim in the 9 Tikunim of Zer Anpin. Tisha Tikunim Amar, so Tikunim Amar, he says now here, V'lakach, Amar Oz Rak Tesha Tikunim V'lo Amar Shlosh Esrei Tikunim Kamosha Amar B'Parshas Kisisa. So he only says 9 here, not like the 13 he said previously by the Egel. V'inku Tikuni Dikna de Mishtat Chei B'Zer Anpin. Ki Elu Tesha Tikunim, because these 9 Tikunim shall Parshas Shalach. Heim HaTisha Tikuni Dikna Hanim Soim B'Zer Anpin. In Shalach, by the Meraglim, he's talking about the 9 tikkunim of the beard of Zer Anpin. He's trying what? To get them to turn to stop being so punishing. Kashe'ein behem shlosh esrei ha'oro shaladikta de Erik Anpin. And it's talking about the time where he's focusing on the beard of Zer Anpin only and not trying to bring down the shefa that's coming from Erik Anpin. Ki machmas his gavras adinim, because now the dinim are very strong. Lo choya oz b'koich Moshe, so Moshe no longer had the strength, and Moshe Rabbeinu. L'hored es shlosh esrei ha'oros shal parshas kisisa, to bring down these 13. So I see parenthetically that by Moshe Rabbeinu saying these words, because the words themselves, it's like calling. You have a group of 13, and as you start to, which represent Rachamim, and as you mention each one of them, it like lights it up and starts it to move. That's the way I kind of see it. It starts it to shine. V'nachtem ma'atik yomim, and they come down from atik yomim. Elav shebekol zos. But when you come over here to the Heda Mecheda Meraglim, and you start talking about what now the 9 tikkunim of the beard of Zer Anpin that they say in that parsha. So it was that in that thinking, the kavana was the horid al kol panim. In any case, tisha ha'aros min tisha tikkuni dikna de Eric Anpin. So he says, I can't get to 13 from. I want to read this again a little bit from Eric Anpin. So I'm going to focus on the 9 from Zer Anpin. Hoya mekavan b'machshavto. This is the shava of Moshe Rabbeinu. The horid I'll call upon him, and in any case, if he can't get to 13, Teisha aros min Teisha tikuni dikna. So the word that I wanted to see was the horid, because he says if you bring it down, but it's not saying that it's bringing down the white part of it. It's just bringing down. I'll call upon him a Teisha aros min Teisha tikuni dikna de Eric Anpin. But the Harmin Bay. And then let them shine into it. And let them shine into the dikna zer anpin. Umamtigo as a dinim akashim shalatukim shehem poket avon avos albanim ashlesh v'ariveim. Now, I think that I misunderstood this. I think he means to say that I think from the last line that he means to say that the 9 of Eric Anpin, not the whole 13, but the 9, he's trying to get them to shine on Zer Anpin because the dinim are too strong. So he says, Shal atikunim shehem poket avon, and he starts going through these difficult dinim, avos albanim, al shleishim, al reveim, v'chazor b'kula the bechinas rachamim, and cause everything, therefore, those 9 to become rachamim. V'gin kach emes talye b'chatika. So therefore, the concept of emes, of truth, still remains, let's say, it's still hanging from a tika. V'lechein amr shemidas emes talui rak be'erik anpin. So now we understand the concept of truth really only depends on Eric Anpin, Hanikra Atika, who's called the Ancient One, or he means the Penemius, Velo Bezer Anpin and not Zer Anpin. So therefore, I'm not sure what the significance of this is. But he says, I mentioned before, well, Emes usually the middle line, Emes Kedita and Emes Yaakov, like that. I don't know what he means. He says, V'gin kach Emes Talya Batika. So if truth is going to come out, though, then truth is going to have to come out from Atika. V'lechein amro shemidas emes talui rak be'erik anpin. It really only refers to Erik Anpin and Nikra Atika. V'lo bezer anpin. V'hashta lo amro Moshe v'emes. So now we see he doesn't say the word v'emes. Ki zeh ha'atam shem Moshe Rabbeinu lo amro tikun v'emes. This is the reason why he didn't say v'emes. Kan b'parsha shalach. Why? Ki kan Medaber min tikuni dikna shel zer anpin atzma, but we don't have this tikkun in zer anpin, so he said we're only talking about those tikkunim. She'ein bo tikkun ve'emes, that doesn't have this tikkun called ve'emes. Avach beparshas tisa shemedaber min ashlosha esrei ha'oros shel Erik Anpin. But there we're talking about the radiance, the 13 different types of glow that are coming from Erik Anpin. Sheyardal lamata bedikta the Zer Anpin, that came down onto the beard of Zer Anpin. Amasham tikun ve'emes. There you see the word emes. Well, let's try and understand what's pshat. Kehu mitzad Erik Anpin. So that's all he wants to say, that the word emes really comes from the mitzad of Erik Anpin. Batam adavar, maybe the reason why I just through my own thought is that because you have all these klipos around the beard of Zer Anpin, and as a result of that, there's a lot of perversion of thoughts. I don't know why emes. I'm trying to find out why it is that emes refers only to Erik Anpin. So here's a reason. V'tam adavar shein midas emes rak be'erik Anpin v'lo b'zer Anpin, is not in Zer Anpin. Ki emes mashma shuhu davar kayim she'ena mishtana la'olam. It refers to something which sustains itself. It always is there and never changes. The Zecha v'Shayek Rak be'Erik Anpin, and that only refers to Erik Anpin. I know that Zer Anpin is sometimes red, sometimes white. She'ein Meshtan in the Olam, he never changes. Ki ein Megir Sham Shum Pagam, because there's no flaw that ever reaches that place. U'Olam Yesh Bo Shlosh Esrei Tikkunei Dikrin, so therefore along the way you see that it always has the 13 Tikkunei of the Dikna. Masha ein Kain Zer Anpin, which is not the case by Zer Anpin. Shemishtana Mizman Lizman, that he changes from time to time. Kilapamim Yesh Bo Rak Tisha Tikkunei Dikna, because sometimes he only has 9 Tikkunim in his beard. Dikna Lapamim Meir Bo Shlosh Esrei Tikkunei Dikna, and then sometimes he has 13 that shine on him. So there are differences there, and that's emes implies steadiness or continuality. Tana, so we learn like this: Lamano Sare the Resha the Zer Anpen Kulhu Kishishi. So we said this before. Kisharas Rosha Zer Anpen Kulum Kashim Haim. They're all very tough, very hard. Tilim al tilim. They are piled up, hairs on top of hairs. V'heid mishulashim ba'ofen shal tilin al tilim. So he says as they hang down and they're together in this concept of piles on top of piles. The hainu ribois aras become a minim. So there's lots and different kinds of hairs there. I guess he means by different strength, but he says minim, kinds of hairs. Amuravim zebazeh, and they're all mixed in with each other. Sounds like a major tangle. Below shi'im, and they're not hard. Ve'ein heim sa'aros rakim, but they're not soft. Kamos aros rosh erik anpin, which we said previously. V'tam adavar sa'aros rosh zer anpin heim ba'ofen shal tilim atilim. So why do we see them in such a way that they're piled one on top of the other? The chamena the slas moche b'slas chalolim mishtatkin bei. Because why? Shahare an the roam sheyesh barosh zer anpin shlosh mochim. There are 3 mochim here. Hanimsoim b'sok shlosh chalolim nifradim, which are in different chambers altogether. V'lechein yotzim nimshachim v'nimshachim b'chem savras harbe. So therefore, since you have all these different kinds, there's a lot of different hairs. He doesn't say hair different. He said mehem savras harbe. There's a lot of hairs come out from them. V'chein yesh kani mini sa'aros yotzin mikama mini mochin, because you have so many different kinds of mochin, so therefore you have so many different types of hairs. V'lekach gam nimshachem v'yotzem sa'aros mi'irvuvia, that they come out all in a chaotic way, some this way, some that way. So what we say, well, what are we talking about here? There are 3 mochim behind the rock besok shlosh chalal hamoach. That is, sounds like when they're inside of the chambers of the moach. Aval mechutz the rosh zer anpin, but when they go out from the head of zer anpin, heim arba mochim. This is what we learned before about the creation of the tzitzis, not the tzitzis, the tefillin. And they all have a radiance that is motivating them or propelling them from the mochstima of Erik Anpin. Ki oz meirin amochus zer Anpin min ha'aras amocha stima shel Erik Anpin. From the radiance that's coming from the beard of Erik Anpin. Hanimshach lemata ayedech b'saras achrei rosh Erik Anpin. Is going back through that idea again. Is that behind the head of Zer Anpin is now hairs coming from Erik Anpin. Of al yedei, and through this, hey mischalkim la'arba b'mochin ka'amor. We spoke about this before. The 3 become 4. Ach kol zecher b'zer Anpin. But this is all talking about Zer Anpin. Aval be'erik Anpin, yesh rak chalal echad l'kol ha'mochim shalo. He only has 1 chalal, he has only 1 moach. V'lekach ein sa'aras rosh Erik Anpin ba'ofen shal tilin al tilim. So therefore his hairs are not piled one on top of the next. El yotzev v'nim shakim rak min echad shal sa'aros. And now there's only 1 type of hairs comes out below riboy, and there's not a multiplication of different types of besidarim below irbuv. Over there in Erik Anpin, everything is ordered and it's not chaotic. V'tam hadavar. So what's the reason? Shesa'aras rosh zer anpin heim kashim Ve'enim rock, and why are they hard? Why are they not soft? Kamo sha'aras rosh erik anpen hu mishum demuch da'atik yomim. It's because of the muach of atik yomim, mishum shahamuchas dimah, that is the muchas dimah of erik anpen, shall erik anpen, anikra atik yomim, shakit v'shakech kachamar tov al durdie, who shokate, it's quiet, v'nach, and resting b'mekomo, just like the lees of wine. Kiyayin tova shoket v'nach al shmarav, which is sitting and being nice and quiet on its lees. She'ein ashmarim nirimbo, because here we see that in the wine itself is separated from the unusable part. Elohim came mina'ana v'torach v'tored as a yaim b'makoma. The only way that you see it is when you start shaking it up and you start bringing it down from its place. Shaz nirin is galim a shmarim kolomar. So then you start to be able to see the shmarim. Shmarim and ramaz in the dinim, and shmarim is the same kind of thing as dinim. They're unfit. V'heim dinim sheyesh b'muchas dimah. There are dinim, now he's telling us, in the muchas dimah. Nikfim, but they're all beaten down, v'nimtakim, and sweetened up in Makoma, right where they're at, tachas chayayin hatov, because of this great wine, this beautiful, this good wine that's in the muchstimah. V'lakach ein saras rosh erik anpin kashem, and this is the reason why they can't be hard. Ki kushia saras romas the dinim, because the hardness of the hairs refers to dinim. V'harech abedinim hem nikfim sham, they are beaten down there. Sare kuhus shi'im, and all the hairs are smooth. Elakol saras rosh erik anpin hem rakim, below bechinas dinim, umeshichin b'mishka tov v'hem meshuchim, and they are anointed, or b'shem and etov, with this good oil. She'ein bo psulas haromas, the dinim that doesn't have any underfit parts, which refers to dinim, v'hu sod hachachma v'shefach hapanimi shel hamochas dimah. So this is the secret of what's really on the inside, what flows out of Nikra Shemo Shemen Hameshcha. So this is called anointing oil. V'gin kach, it's such pure oil. V'gin kach ksiv v'lechein kosev al saras rosh erakanpin. So therefore it writes in regards to this, Reisha ka'amarnoki, his head is like white wool. Pirush shehem saras nikim kumod semenakim, so they're like really clean wool. Koloma shehem nikim called bechinas hadinim. They're clean from any dinim, and that is the shir today. Well, thank you for learning with me. Kol tov.